Good evening, and on behalf of the League of Women Voters, I'd like to welcome you to the 2025 Lake Forest Park City Council Candidate Forum. My name is Philippa Cassover, and I am a member of the board of the Seattle King County League of Women Voters and the coordinator of the North King County unit of the League. We meet here in Third Place Commons in the Stadler Room every third Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. We are very grateful to Third Place Commons and their director, their staff, and their board for helping us to hold this forum here tonight and for doing all they do to build community here in Lake Forest Park. Before we begin, I first want to remind us all that here in Lake Forest Park, we acknowledge that we gather today on the traditional lands of the Coast Salish Indigenous people, past and present. Please join us in honoring these ancestral grounds by expressing gratitude to our Indigenous people for their enduring care and protection of our shared land and waterways. And next, a word about the League of Women Voters, which this year celebrates the 105th anniversary of our founding. The League is a national, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization whose purpose is to defend democracy and promote the informed and active participation of citizens in every level of government. Our goal for tonight's forum is to provide Lake Forest Park citizens with the information to help them be knowledgeable and empowered voters. You can find more information about the League at the membership table at the back of the room, or by going to our website, which is lwvsk.org. I know that's kind of rough. It's at the bottom of that big sign, and we have it also on the back table. Also, for those of you who may be unfamiliar with Third Place Commons, you'll find the restrooms in the back corner of your room, to your left and my right. And in case of any emergency, there's a main exit behind you, and there are also stairs down to another exit at the right of the stage. As many of you will know, I am a Lake Forest Park resident, so my only role tonight is to introduce League of Women Voters member Paula Barnes, who's from Shoreline, who is a League-trained, experienced, and unbiased moderator who will guide us through this evening's forum. So, thank you, Paula.
So can you hear me? Yes. All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Philippa, for your comments, and thanks to Third Place Commons for allowing us to use this community space tonight. I'll be moderating this evening's forum. I am a longtime member of the League, and one of my favorite activities is actually moderating forums such as this one, so I'm very grateful to be with you tonight. We'll be hearing from the candidates for Lake Forest Park City Council positions 1, 2, 3, 5, and 7. There are several League members here tonight helping out in various ways. Two important ones are our timers. They're seated right here in the front. That's Michael Knapp and Barbara Erickson, and you'll see the signs that they will be holding up high, very high, to indicate to the candidates and to me and to you when the time limit has been reached. I haven't worked with Barbara and Michael before, but I have heard that they are ruthless, so I will be the same. Here are the ground rules we'll be observing during tonight's forum. We ask you to turn off your cell phones and any other devices that make noise, and to keep things civil and moving along, because we need to be wrapped up by no later than 8:30. Please refrain from any applause, booing, loud comments, or other disruptions. We'll have time at the end of the forum for a round of applause. And if someone insists on being disruptive after I gently and then not so gently ask them to cool it, I'm sorry, but I will have to bring the forum to an end. So I'm going to be pretty strict with the candidates about their time limits and strict with the audience because we want to get in as much time as we can for questions. I'd also like to thank our videographer, Robin Lyle, who is, yes, back there by the video camera, for recording this event. We'll have a link to the recording posted on the Seattle King County League of Women Voters YouTube channel within the next few days. We've asked all the candidates to sign an agreement saying that they're not going to record they or their campaigns are not going to record this form, and we ask you to do the same. Please don't do any recording because we are recording it and it will be available, and you can get to the YouTube channel it's usually about within a week. There'll be a link on the League of Women Voters website. And that website again is lwvskc.org. So the Lake Forest Park City Council is made up of 7 members elected at large for 4-year terms. The council is the legislative and policy-making body of the city, adopting all ordinances and resolutions, approving contracts, and approving the annual budget. Individual council members represent the city on local and regional boards and commissions. The salary for city council members is currently $800 a month. I hope I have the updated information there. This evening, we'll hear from 2 candidates for each position 1, 2, 3, and 5, and 1 candidate for position 7 who's running unopposed. All of these candidates will appear on your November 4th ballot. So here's how things will roll tonight. I'm going to ask each candidate to make an opening statement of no more than 90 seconds. We'll go in order of position, and where there are 2 candidates for a position, in the chronological order that they filed for office, and that's how they're seated at the table. Following the opening remarks, we'll start the Q&A session with a couple of questions prepared in advance by league members. And to keep things as fair as possible, with each question, I'm going to rotate who answers first, but they'll continue to answer in the same order. Then it's your turn. There are league volunteers who are handing out and who have handed out index cards, I believe, and pens and pencils if you need them, so you can write down your questions for the candidates. Raise your hand if you didn't get a card or something to write with and you'd like to submit a question. The candidates will have up to 1 minute for their answers, so keep that time limit in mind when you're crafting your questions. League volunteers will collect your cards and sort the questions into categories, and they'll select 1 or 2 questions per category for me to read to the candidates. Even if a question is directed to one particular candidate, all candidates will be given the opportunity to answer all questions. Then we'll end tonight's forum by giving each candidate up to 90 seconds for their closing remarks, and this will happen in reverse order of position and filing. So, on to the opening statements. We asked the candidates in advance to introduce themselves by covering the following information in their 90 seconds or less opening statement. Why are you running to be a city council member, and what are your qualifications for serving on the council? Candidates, please keep your eye on the timers so you can gauge your time, and we will start with Mr. James. You have 9.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Bryce James. Lake Forest Park has been my family's home for 75 years, and it's a very unique place. How cool is it to have a home where you have multiple creeks and a tree canopy that's extensive, and neighborhoods that are designed after the founder who had a vision for living in harmony with nature. I think it's pretty cool. And I'm running to protect that uniqueness by ensuring our city grows responsibly and in fairness while keeping everything with citizen oversight. Like every community, we face challenges, and protecting the environment, keeping our finances strong, and respecting our taxpayers. It's going to be difficult, but this is kind of what I'm made for. I have a degree in finance, accounting, computer science, and have a certified investment management analyst degree from Wharton School of Business, and it's kind of wired for this type of job, and I'm looking forward to it. I've spent 40 years doing investment management and all sorts of consulting services in the financial area. What I value most is listening. I believe the best ideas come from our citizens, and I want to make sure every voice is heard, whether it's through open meetings, citizen committees, or simply just meeting you at your neighborhood and having a conversation. I think everybody has a voice in here, and that's what I want to bring back to Lake Forest Park is citizen input. And
Thank you very much.
thank you very much. Stop.
Next, we'll hear from Semra Riddle. You have 90 seconds. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Summer Riddle, and I've been your council member for the past 9 years. I like to say that I'm terrible at being a politician, but I want to be a great civil servant. I believe councils work better when they're not political and stay focused on the community that they serve. So I take my direction from the community, and although I always bring my ideas, my knowledge, and my experience to the table, I get my priorities from you. That is meant focusing on environmental protections like salmon recovery and tree canopy preservation, on public safety, on providing kids safe ways to get to school, on navigating tough budgets during and after COVID, and on maintaining and expanding our park system. Today, I hear some added concerns. We need safer streets for all, more local shopping, and more third places for young families and downsizing seniors that they can own, a smart and balanced city budget now and in the future, and all of that without compromising what makes LFP, LFP. I'm looking forward to this discussion tonight, and thank you all for being here and being part of it. And thank you, League of Women Voters, for putting on consistently exceptional forums over the years. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Matt Mullenberg. You have 90 seconds.
Hello, Lake Forest Park. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's amazing to look out in this room and see so many faces. Faces I've recognized, faces I know. I've lived here for 47 years. This is a community that made me who I am and is a place that's remarkably special to me. People ask why I'm running for office, and in fact, why am I running now? It's actually not a surprise to people. I'm running for office. Many people said, why did it take so long? I'm running now because of what's happening at the federal level and what it means for us here in Lake Forest Park. The change is vast, it's rapid, it's scary, it angers me, it upsets me, it makes me cry. I'm here because my instinct is to put my head down and hide, to not be out there, to not confront the challenge that is the terrible things that are happening on that national scale. But the reality is that doesn't feel right to me. I need to stand up, I need to be out there, I need to be loud, and I need to do things that are right for my community. So when I look at what's happening, I look at Lake Forest Park, a place I've been for 47 years, a place that at one time was actually quite walkable. And I look at our community today and I see highways that are now so filled with cars that it's difficult to cross them. I see development that has blocked out the natural walkways that once existed and connected our neighborhoods. And I see social media that has turned us inward and away from our neighbors. And I want to break that down. Next year, 2 years from now, when we're sitting here, I want this room filled with people from Lake Forest Park. I want to figure out how do we bring this community together? How do we support each other? How do we build the resilience that we need? How do we create a community when things are bad outside of our walls where we can look at each other and support each other?
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Fred Grant. Mr. Grant, you have 90 seconds.
Hi, everybody. My name is Fred Grant. I'm a mass media and marketing professional, also a small business owner. I feel like I'm qualified because I work with budgets. I definitely do a lot of production coordination, talking with different people from different industries. I put in a lot of time and effort, and I wanted to see how that would transition into a political world when we have issues with budgets and keeping up difficult issues throughout without our city, and talking with the public and communicating. So I wanted to step up. I know it's very. I feel like as a millennial these days, a lot of people aren't really stepping up to take your leadership role, and I say of course because it's terrifying and people are criticizing left and right. You have to be the best in making the best wrong decision possible, best dumb decision possible. So I think that. I just want to step up, see if I can do the best I can, and please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from John Lebo. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm John Lebo, your Lake Forest Park Council member. And for those dedicated Mariner fans, I hope you can tell me if we win. I'm running for re-election because I care deeply about this community, and I want to keep working to make it even better. I grew up here. I attended Lake Forest Park Elementary and graduated from Shorecrest High. 16 years ago, my wife and I moved back to Lake Forest Park to raise our kids in the same community that shaped me while I was growing up. Before joining the council, I served 7 years on the Planning Commission, 3 as chair. I was helping to protect our neighborhood character while guiding thoughtful growth. Professionally, I'm a licensed architect and a deputy executive project director on a $3.8 billion light rail project. My 37-year career leading major public projects has given me the skills to manage complex budgets, listen effectively, and deliver real results to the public. On the council, I've focused on public safety, fiscal responsibility, and environmental stewardship, sponsoring pedestrian safety improvements, supporting our police with the training and tools needed to keep our neighborhoods safe. Looking ahead, my priorities include strengthening community safety, investing in our walkways, parks, and trails, promoting thoughtful development and protecting our forests and streams, and maintaining a fiscally responsible city budget. As a lifelong Democrat, I bring energy, empathy, and collaboration to the council. With your support, we can keep building a Lake Forest Park that is safe, welcoming, and resilient.
Thank you. Next, Josh Rosenau. You have 90 seconds.
My name is Josh Rosenau, and I'm running for City Council. And I've knocked on a lot of your doors and said that in the last couple months. I want to thank the League and all of you for being here, and especially Third Place Commons for finding room for all 10 of us up here on stage. Third places are really what drives this campaign for me. For the last few years, I've been on the City Parks Board, working on the third spaces that we all gather in, the lakefront park that we're building, working with colleagues to create the garage sales that bring the community together. And I want to make more of that. More gathering spaces, more parklets, more benches on street corners, more places that people can get a cup of coffee together and have the conversations that matter. And I want to make it safe to walk to those places. Take space from cars on our streets and make room for those benches, make room for kids to play, make room for people to walk and push a stroller, and slow down traffic. For my career, I'm a biologist, I've worked in conservation, and worked on some of the biggest issues out there: climate change, conserving cougars and salmon and orcas, and building community and consensus to find solutions to those problems. I'm proud to be endorsed by the King County Democratic Party, by our shoreline firefighters, by elected officials here and in surrounding cities, our representatives in Olympia, and a host of your neighbors who you can find at joshforlfp.com. And I hope to earn your vote tonight. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Next, we'll hear from Tracy Furutani. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. My name is Tracy Furutani. I'm the incumbent in position 5 of the Lake Forest Park City Council, and I've been your deputy mayor and council chair for the past few months. I've learned a lot, and that's one of the things that I really want to carry on into my second term, is like I finally figured out kind of how all the gears and levers of government work, and hopefully that will translate to concrete actions in the second term. Not that we haven't had a whole lot of fun in the first term and done some things. We've got together a citizen-written, resident-written climate action plan, and you can see the Climate Hub here. I'm not taking credit for that. That's my friend Dana Campbell's work, but the fact is that we are a community that comes together and makes projects like this, that makes our lives here so much better. And I intend to keep doing that. We need to hire somebody at the city that will manage all of these kind of climate resiliency and mitigation efforts. So right now we have a bunch of disparate departments. We need to drag them into the 21st century and actually have things like somebody who knows how to use a geographic information system. I teach physics at North Seattle College for a living, and I see all the changes that are happening in education. And I think a lot of the technological advances are for the good, and we need to be able to utilize them as a community. And so what I'm looking for is basically a continuing conversation with all of you about what we can do to bring these technologies into our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Reed Olson.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here and showing a commitment to your community. It's heartening to see such engagement at such a difficult time for our democracy and with the Mariners playing. I am going to disagree. Please, no spoilers. I have the game paused in the 7th. I'm running for Lake Forest Park City Council, position 5, to bring a fresh perspective. My wife and I moved here 5 years ago and still consider ourselves pretty new. I also want to make sure Lake Forest Park is taking advantage of the opportunities in front of us. The Seattle metro area and the world as a whole, have gotten more populous. We can keep fighting that growth, or we can see this as an opportunity to invigorate the town center, make Lake Forest Park a place where young families can afford to live, and save our tree canopy from being cut down. The vast majority of the folks in this room are qualified, I think, to be city council members, and certainly everyone up on this stage is. I think what makes me uniquely qualified is my ability and approach to solving problems. First and foremost, I believe problems are an opportunity. Most problems are an opportunity. I spent the first 15 years of my career designing motors and suspension systems for electric vehicles. My role was always to bring different groups with competing interests together to create the best product possible. I had to be curious, open to new ideas, and flexible.
Thank you. And now, 90 seconds, Larry Goldman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and Third Place Commons for hosting this evening. I'm Larry Goldman. I'm running for re-election to position 7. I'm proud of having served on the council for the past 4 years. I am a chemistry instructor at the University of Washington. I've prided myself on city council of working well with my colleagues, coming up with consensus ideas based on community feedback to help move Lake Forest Park forward. Overall, I think the city of Lake Forest Park is moving in the right direction, and we need to keep that momentum going. For instance, we have adopted the Climate Action Plan, and now comes the hard work of implementing those ideas, part of the Climate Action Plan. We had earlier this year approved middle housing regulations, and now comes the hard task of making sure that middle housing is affordable for people who want to live in Lake Forest Park, to move here, to downsize. And also pedestrian safety. We've done some work. We've lowered speed limits to make our local roads safer, but there's more we can do, such as building sidewalks to our elementary school. And so I would be grateful to earn your vote for another 4 years to implement these changes to make our city continue to be a wonderful place to live. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, candidates. We're now going to open the question and answer period with a couple of questions that were developed by League members in advance. Here's the first one. You'll have 1 minute each to answer all the questions, the ones that we've prepared and the ones that are coming from the audience. So the first question is, one of the council's most important responsibilities is approving the city's budget. What experience and skills will you bring to the city's budget process? We're going to start with Ms. Riddle. You'll each have 1 minute to answer. Ms. Riddle, you're up.
Thank you. So I've been on the Budget and Finance Committee on Council since 2020, and help usher us through the COVID era and into a era of opportunity, and now back into an era where our budget is struggling. I believe that this experience is what you want on council. You want somebody who knows the material deep and knows the history and knows what works and what doesn't work with the community. I will say that budgets are, at the municipal level, are unique. They're nothing like what you'll find out in your homes or in your businesses. We face unique challenges that are restricted by the Washington state laws, where money can only go into a certain area. So you may be flush in one side and you may be poor in another. And I have the history to understand that, and I've got the experience to understand that, and I believe that is what makes me qualified to control our budget. Thank you.
Very good. And before we move to Mr. Mullenberg, I just want to remind the audience, if you have questions, if you've written questions on your index cards, if you can pass them to the center aisle, Philippa and other volunteers will pick them up, and we'll give you another chance in a few minutes. But get those questions ready. All right, Mr. Mullenberg, you have 1 minute.
In 47 years here, the budget has been the issue that has been persistent and prevalent as long as I've lived here. We are a unique community that's constrained by our mix of tax base, and it means that we need to be thoughtful and creative about how we manage the budget that we have. I live in a corporate world. I've spent 30 years working for startups, large companies. I have had P&L responsibility for hundreds of millions of dollars. I currently operate a team that's about 120 people, a budget about $30 million. I know how to do it. I know how to manage through the numbers. I know how to be successful. I think the really important thing with our budget is the input that we need from our community. I ask the question, what is non-essential? Nobody can answer that question for me. I'm going to continue to ask that. I want to hear from all of you what is non-essential, because those are the things we'll need to figure out on this council.
Great, thank you. Mr. Grant, you have 1 minute.
So for a living, I project manage and work in operations. I do a lot of budgets. That's literally what I do, and that's actually kind of what got me interested in the position when it opened up, very last minute for me. One thing that I do find is that if you look for commonalities, because if I give a script or I'm giving feedback or cutting something, and people will complain about things, but if you find commonalities, common complaints or common things, that's how you know what to cut, because it's the group's decision as opposed to an individual that might be an outlier. So that said, I do listen to people. I don't make cuts just on willy-nilly, like I'm just going to cut something. I will listen to what the community actually wants and make sure I prioritize them. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Just a reminder of the question again, one of the council's most important responsibilities is approving the city's budget. What experience and skills will you bring to the city's budget process? And so we'll move next to Mr. Lebo. You have 60 seconds, 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm currently the Lake Forest Park Chair for the Budget Committee, and I have been for the last 2 years. As I mentioned, my whole career has been managing large capital projects. My first one was an entire building for $67,000. I'm now managing a $3.8 billion project. Complex budgets are something that I've always managed in my career and presented to boards and directors about the changes into our budgets. I always look for what can we save, how can we allocate. One of the things I've done in our current budget is to make sure that we're appropriately allocating monies between our various pockets of money or buckets of money so that we can best utilize the monies that we receive. With that, I always try to bring value to whatever we're doing, and so I spent a lot of time scrutinizing budgets to make sure that we're getting the best value we have. And like you, we always need to manage our budget appropriately, just as we do at home.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Rosenau, 1 minute.
For the last almost 20 years, I've been working in small nonprofits, managing complex, tight budgets for mission-oriented work. And that's very similar to the task of a city council, where you've got reserves, you've got grants, and you've got members, or in this case, taxpayers who are bringing money in. And you have to balance all of that. And it's almost a cliche in this world to talk about this, but a budget is a statement of values. And working in values-oriented nonprofits for a career, I've seen that challenge. And how do you prioritize? What do you find ways to say yes to? How do you find new revenue when you need to say yes to something because it matters to the community that you're serving? And that's going to be the task that I'm going to set myself to in our tough budget times, finding ways to say yes to the things that matter most to the community, to lift up our values and make sure that we move forward in the directions that we want to go.
Good, thank you very much. Next, 1 minute, Mr. Furutani.
Thank you. So the budget is the most important policy document the council puts out. As candidate Rosenau was pointing out, it is a list of our values. When we were debating whether we should be funding our community partners, you all came out in force and said yes to the senior center, yes to Shore Lake Arts. And I think that kind of response is what we're looking for, is that when we start considering the budgets, make your voice heard. Write to us, speak to us in the 3-minute public comment time. But the point is basically, it is the list of our community values. I've gone through 2 budget cycles. I've written countless spreadsheets and numerous documents about Proposition 1. I am sick to death of property tax at this point, but I still really find this stuff fascinating. And now I think I have enough knowledge that the next 4 years will have some amazing budget priorities for us that will help our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Mr. Olson, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Yeah, everyone up here sounds extremely qualified. It's very impressive. I think what sets me apart is my approach. I think I'm really good at asking basic questions. I don't mind looking dumb. I think that's how you get to the root of something. I think that's an important skill, and that's the type of approach I would take to Lake Forest Park's budget.
Thank you. Mr. Goldman, 1 minute.
Yes. In addition to working at the University of Washington, I also serve on the board for my homeowners association of over 110 units. And as a member of that board, we're also responsible for coming up with an annual HOA budget. And I think there's a lot of similarities between the HOA budget and the city budget. In both cases, we need to take stock of what resources we have, what services we need to provide to the community, what the community desires. And I think that's a critical part of the budget, is to find out what does the community want. There was a survey last year, and we got some clear priorities that that the community is looking for. And so it is up to us to figure out how we can fund those, because as others have said, our budget is very much a value statement for us and the community.
Thank you. And now, Mr. James, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I've spent decades working with foundations like community colleges, Cascadia, for example, to sovereign nations, to a co-founder of a very large company in Redmond. And what almost always happens, and it's happening here in Lake Forest Park, is a lack of process. And in that process, we are not following some of the ordinances that are required, mandated, and at the same time, we let go of the very citizen committees that drove a lot of that process, causing us to have last-minute decisions, a lot of them lately, from the roundabout to a lot of other things. On the sake of time, happy to chat with anybody later about what we could do to significantly improve our budget and significantly improve the process and save us a lot of money that wouldn't normally need to be spent. For example, just recently they let go of the solar initiative that we spent $444,000 on last year, and it's now gone.
Thank you very much. All right, here is the next question. This is the other prepared question by league members. What role should city council members play in regional and statewide issues? Again, you have 1 minute, and this time we're going to start with Mr. Mullenberg.
Yeah, Lake Forest Park is part of a broader community. It's important that we are connected with the cities that surround us, the county, the community that makes up the greater Washington state. Our participation in the Regional Crisis Agency, I think, is a significant part of how we participate in the larger area, and a net benefit to the community-based policing approach that we have here in Lake Forest Park. It's not the only regional agency we participate in. Strength comes through the work that we do with our neighbors, whether it's the Shoreline Lake Forest Park Arts Association, whether it's a joint parks district. In the facing climate change that we have, I worry about the mosquitoes that are beginning to arrive here and believe there's opportunities for a mosquito control district that should be formed in our broader community. We can't stand alone. We're 5,500 homes. We are a very narrow tax base. Meeting the demands of what goes on around us requires that we're part of a broader community structure.
Thank you. Next, same question, Mr. Grant.
Yeah, what's not good for the bee is not good for the hive. It is important for us, I think, to focus on the needs and wants of you directly, but also keep in mind of the greater good. There's a lot of things that we can do that not only helps us, but helps everybody around us in general. It is our job, I think, to make decisions with clean energy. It is our job to support our community and listen to our community. And it's also our job to coordinate with surrounding communities. Wherever we lack, they might have. And communication is a two-way street. Wherever they may lack, we may have. So I think that the more communication, the better.
Thank you. Mr. Lebo, 1 minute.
So as mentioned, Lake Forest Park is a small city when you compare us to our neighbors such as Kenmore and Shoreline. So there are 3 things that we need to focus on with regard to how we interact with our neighbors, our county, and our state. As a small city, it's important that we partner with our neighboring cities, as mentioned in the Regional Crisis Response Agency. It's also important that we seek out our local county government for assistance as well as for funding. It's important as we do to educate our state legislation and our national federal representatives, because they can provide funding. They can also provide laws that cost us money. So we need to educate them about the consequences of the laws that they are enacting and see how they can benefit us. So it's important that we work on a local level with our neighbors, county level, state, and federal, that we just not focus on the policies of Lake Forest Park.
Thank you. Mr. Rosenau, 1 minute.
One of the reasons that I sought and am proud to have received endorsements from all mayors of all of our neighboring cities, former mayors in Lake Forest Park as well, council members, and our state full delegation to Olympia, is that we need regional solutions to our regional challenges. Lake Forest Park can't stand alone. We need to work together with teams, groups like RACER, NEMCO, other regional approaches to these challenges. And I think we can also serve as an example to our neighbors of how to address complex challenges, including how we manage our urban forest, how we manage traffic, how we manage development in light of the environmental challenges that we face, and that they face also. We can learn from them and from successes that they've had, as well as from places where they tried something and it didn't work as they planned. And I've been reaching out to them and learning those lessons from them through this campaign and before, and would look forward to continuing to do that as a city council member and making us part of that broader region.
Thank you. I'm going to pause and just repeat the question for everyone's benefit. What role should city council members play in regional and statewide issues? So Mr. Furutani, you're up and you have 1 minute.
Lake Forest Park is always punched above its weight in terms of its city council participating in regional boards. I myself sit on the Water Resources Inventory Agency Region 8 board, and that's trying to bring back kokanee to our streams here, as well as to kokanee all over King County, as well as other species of salmon. I also sit on the Lake Ballinger Forum, which talks about the health of McAleer Creek, as well as Ballinger Creek and all the other streams that feed into Lake Ballinger. So the point is that our participation in regional boards is critical in a small city being able to throw its weight around. Wouldn't it be wonderful we could have a sitting board member on Sound Transit's board? That would be interesting. So the point is we're working to get more council members involved in more of these kind of regional boards, because that's the way we can make a small city heard.
Mr. Olson, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I strongly agree with what everyone has voiced already. We should be an advocate for our citizens, but thinking about the greater community as a whole. One thing I think we should be working with is the Seattle City Light to reduce the frequency and duration of our power outages, reduce our reliance on the grid, work with them to come up with a battery program or a solar program, something that could help our community members keep the power on during some of our Lake Forest Dark events that we have here. And then also working with Sound Transit to responsibly install bus lanes that they're working on putting in on Lake City Way. So, Bothell Way.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Goldman, you'll have 1 minute.
Yes, I also agree it is important for us to work with our regional partners. We are not isolated. We are connected with our neighbors. At the environmental level, the health of the forests and the creeks in Kenmore, Montlake Terrace, Shoreline, those have a direct impact on the health of our native land. When it comes to people, I'm very proud that we partnered with 4 other cities to establish RACER, the Regional Crisis Response Agency, because as a group of 5 cities, we can have a bigger impact than Lake Forest Park would have alone. We can trade ideas. By having these regional meetings, we can talk with our counterparts in other cities. We can share what we've been working on. They can share what they've been working on. We can learn from it. We can adapt it. We can take their novel ideas, scale them to Lake Forest Park, and make them work for us. So it is very important for us to keep up with what our neighbors are doing so that as a region, we can be stronger.
Thank you. Next, Mr. James, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. This is a beautiful example where holacracy models come into play, where you can have a community like Lake Forest Park, and we have our own identity. We don't need to be like Bothell and Shoreline and Kenmore. We don't need to relax other laws. But where it works great is when you go out one Halon to, say, the regional areas right around here where we share fire and we have the racer and these other things. And it expands out further into another model where we have grants and all these other services where we work together. And it expands to a global level. And in this model, it's important to understand these are just social constructs of how we can build this out into a beautiful relationship that's dynamic between these different Halons. And I think that's super important to understand that we're all one. It's, you know, think globally, act locally, but it's important to keep our identity within that larger confine of all these other models that we have to pay attention to, and we're a village. Takes the whole group. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Now, Ms. Riddle, you have 1 minute.
I've had the pleasure to be on several boards during my tenure on council. I was the chair of the Washington Community Forestry Council Board, and that is an advisory board that had direct access to the Department of Natural Resources Commissioner. When you're on a board, it gives you a larger voice. It gives you an opportunity to make connections. It gives you an opportunity to learn the inside baseball in certain areas. I'm on the North King County Coalition on Homelessness, which is the North King County region, sub-region that connects with King County Regional Homeless Authority. Through that group, we were able to secure ongoing funding for shelter, winter shelter, for our homeless across the region. You have a voice when you join a board that you wouldn't have otherwise. So I think it's incredibly important that we join boards and that we're interested in. I mean, you have to have a personal interest in it, but there's so many opportunities out there, from finance to forestry to anything else you're looking for.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to take as many questions as possible from you, the audience, keeping in mind that we do need to be out of this space by 8:30 tonight. Once again, candidates, you'll have 1 minute to answer. And I do apologize in advance if we don't have time to get to every question. I'll start with the first one here, and we're going to start with you, Mr. Grant. What is your position on housing density in Lake Forest Park? You have 20, no, I'm kidding. You have 1 minute.
1 second. I thought I did have something. Oh well. I think housing density should be greatly considered here wherever possible, because the barrier to entry, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I think the average house in Lake Forest Park goes for a little bit over $1 million. And I think the barrier to entry is quite phenomenal these days. And so, you know, the rent, to keep in mind as well, the rent for most people is about $3,000 per month. So the salaries might have increased a little bit, but to also be able to save, plus health insurance, kids, car insurance, everything, it's quite expensive. So I don't want people to rule out more dense housing like apartments and duplexes because of maybe bad stigmatisms to them, but...
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
All right, Mr. Lebo, same question. You have 1 minute.
So there are many things that make Lake Forest Park special. Our forests, our streams, the topography, our tree canopy. Those are things that make Lake Forest Park special, and we want to preserve them. And I've worked to maintain that kind of character in Lake Forest Park. The density that we have in Lake Forest Park is appropriate for our region, the preservation of our canopy and our streams. So you may know recently the state law was enacted that single-family zoning went away, and that we're now having duplex on every single-family housing. So I believe that we have the appropriate density in Lake Forest Park. We have locations where multifamily can be sited. Those are available to developers if they want to do. I think there should be thoughtful growth in Lake Forest Park within the existing density that we have.
Thank you. Same question. Mr. Rosenau, 1 minute.
So in 1912, when Lake Forest Park was announced by Ole Hansen as a new development, not yet built, he wrote that this park is not to be just a playground for the rich. This park is not to be a place where an 500 millionaires will exclude all others. As our housing prices are going past $1 million on average, we're losing that. We are losing the Lake Forest Park that we love. And the way that we hold on to that has to be by moving vigorously to add the housing that we need. Right now, we're replacing $1 million homes with $2 million homes. That's not helping affordability, and they're bigger. They're 4,000 square foot homes. If we make it just as easy to put 2 or 3 homes, starter homes, in that same space, we create a place where my kids can move back to town when they graduate from college, where our seniors don't feel trapped. This is something I've heard from a lot of people as I'm canvassing. They feel trapped in the homes that they've lived in for decades.
Thank you.
We can do better.
Next, Mr. Furutani, and you also have 1 minute.
So, as our mayor has been telling us, gentle density is what we really need in this town. Because as many of the candidates here have mentioned, there's a problem with younger folks wanting to move into this community for the same reasons we all moved into this community. In 20 years, I'm going to be facing the fact that I want to downsize in this community, and yet most of my friends who are already of that age have decided to go to Montlake Terrace or Bothell just because of the availability of housing there. So what is the right solution for us? Well, the mayor's gentle density idea includes the dreaded C word, cluster housing, but in appropriate spots. It involves DADUs, it involves stacked flats, but appropriate for the look and feel of the community. And I'm really looking to do that. No wholesale changes, but we can do better, as a lot of the candidates said here.
Thank you. And next, Mr. Olson, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most important things facing Lake Forest Park. You can seem like there's two things that are fighting each other. One is our tree canopy, and 2 is our need as a society to house more people. I think those things can coexist. I don't think we should rezone change any requirements for tree canopy. I think we need to keep it. But I also don't oppose, actually I support condos and apartments. I think we need those here down at Town Center. This is a great place to be, but there is a lot of space used up by parking lots. I think we need to support people trying to buy their first home, people trying to rent, people trying to live in Lake Forest Park.
Thank you. I'm going to pause here and repeat the question, which is, what is your position on housing density in Lake Forest Park? Mr. Goldman, you're up, and you have 1 minute.
Yes, affordable housing is a major issue for us. For all too many young people, it's hard to get a starter home. For seniors, it's hard to downsize. Several months ago, some LFP residents put on a housing forum, and one of the things they presented was that in our city, we have too many 4, 5, 6 bedroom houses, and we don't have enough 1 or 2 bedroom houses. In other words, we need more middle housing. And so I would like us to encourage ways to have more middle housing, whether that's duplexes. I'd also like us to explore cluster housing. It's a way that we can have that gentle middle density while also making sure to maintain the natural environment, that on this section of the lot you can have the cluster, but then have plenty of space for trees. So I think there are definite ways for us to balance this gentle density with our tree canopy and our natural environment. So I would be supportive of that.
Thank you. Next, Mr. James, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. It's really hard to be all things to all people. I don't know where I've ever seen it done really well that way. We have a certain community here that moved here for a reason, and it's just hard. I think the city got it absolutely right to vote in the mandates that they did for ADUs, DADUs, and what would hopefully be cluster housing at some point, but also duplexes, and not to go to the far extreme of having apartments without parking, for example. It's just hard to be all things to all people, and I think the people should vote on what they want as a collective, not just a handful of people sitting up here or a small survey of a few people. It's a joint effort. It's a community, and I think everybody should have a say in if it changes.
I'm good.
Thank you. And next, Ms. Riddle, you have 1 minute.
Density doesn't always mean change. Those iconic Seattle Craftsman houses that you see, Capitol Hill, those were at one point 3-4 units within them, and they've been converted to single-family homes. When our code allows someone to make a McMansion here of 3,500, 4,000 square feet, why can't there be 2 or 3 units within that space? It takes up the same space as that McMansion, but now we have housing for folks that need entry-level housing or step-down housing for our seniors to something smaller, more manageable. ADUs and DADUs are a great option, but they can't be sold separately. One of the challenges is finding a way to make housing that's smaller for folks to purchase so they can start wealth building the way that our parents and grandparents were able to do, hopefully. So for me, density doesn't necessarily mean change. It means strategy.
Thank you.
I applaud the I'm sorry.
You're up.
I applaud the council for taking the steps that they needed to comply with the state law as it came to the changes in density here in Lake Forest Park. As I've knocked on doors and talked to residents, it's been interesting to listen to what people have to say. I raised 6 kids here. None of my kids can afford to live in Lake Forest Park. 2 of them are sitting here in the audience tonight. Thank you for being here. But my 2 daughters who have children, they've left Lake Forest Park. One moved to Chelan because housing is affordable. One moved to Austin, Texas because housing is affordable. We've done the minimum to comply, but as I walk around and I look at these houses, I see flag lots where there's these massive places that have already been parked out and treed, where there's opportunity for ramblers, things that we desperately need in this city for people to age in place. I look at my own home, which is a split level. I'm lucky because it's a walkout daylight basement. I have the opportunity to turn that into an ADU, a stacked flat as they call it. But I need to do it in the right order, because if I want to put a dadu in the backyard, I have to do that first, because once I have a stacked flat, the rules don't let me have the third one for some reason. So I see opportunity to improve on the baseline.
Thank you very much. All right. For the next question, we're going to be starting with you, Mr. Lebo. When you envision Lake Forest Park 5 to 10 years in the future, what would you like to see that's different than how it is today? So, Mr. Lebo, you're first, and you have 1 minute.
I would like to see a Lake Forest Park that is very similar to what we see today, but I would like it to be more walkable, that it's safe for people to walk between where they live to get to a park. I would like to see more parks in Lake Forest Park. There are opportunities for us for pocket parks. I would like to see, what would I envision? In many ways, I want to continue to see a Lake Forest Park that is safe. We can always be safer. I want to see a Lake Forest Park that is welcoming to everyone. We are today, but we always have opportunities to welcome more. I also want to see a Lake Forest Park that is more affordable for people who want to live in Lake Forest Park and have the opportunity to live out their lives at Lake Forest Park because they have others that may be sharing their homes with them. So in many ways, I'd like to see a Lake Forest Park that is more community-oriented for the people who live here.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Rosenau, same question, 1 minute.
When I'm knocking on doors around the city, the thing I tell people is I'm running for city council to make more of what makes Lake Forest Park awesome. And that's the third spaces, it's our parks, and it's our community. I would love to, in 5 years, to have some cafes in people's garages where people can get together as a neighborhood and talk. More little pocket parks, more places where we've taken a little bit of the street and a little bit of the right-of-way and made a little playground that kids can gather, slow the cars down as they go through. Places that people can gather and create more community, have the conversations. And then I would like to see a city government that is reaching out into those places and engaging the community where it lives. Too often on the Parks Board, when we have hearings, the people who show up here or at Town Hall are a small fraction of the community and a small slice of what the community's conversation is. There are conversations happening on our streets, and I want to bring those out, surface those, and bring them into the city politics.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Furutani, you have 1 minute.
Since we can ask for anything, I'd love to see fewer smoky days in 5 to 10 years. However, since we are in the realm of reality, I'd love to see our lakefront park be a thriving community treasure. I'd like to see more walkways, as many of the candidates have alluded to. I'd like to see us take over, that is to say, Lake Forest Park take over State Highway 527, that is to say, Ballinger Way, and basically repave it and actually make it safe for pedestrians, bicyclists, as well as vehicles. I'd like to see a safe community. We are the second safest community in Washington State. Why not be the first? So these are all things that are achievable. The Smoky Skies, not so much, but the other things, I believe, with your support, we can.
Thank you. Mr. Olson?
Yeah. Excuse me. To add on to a few of those, I think the Lakefront Park is a great idea. I'm very excited about that. I ride my bike here 4 or 5 times a week. I would love some more bike lanes. I'd love to be able to go up Perkins without worrying about getting hit from behind. I want a place for all. I see a place for people of all income levels to build a family, to start a family. I want to keep the same small businesses that we have right here. Euroboss, it's my favorite Mediterranean in the city or in the area. Third Place Books is fantastic. And then also give an opportunity for new ones. I think there's a lot we can do to make that happen.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Goldman, and you have 1 minute.
Yes, I'd like to see Lake Forest Park 5-10 years from now be more community accessible. That is, like echoing some of the other candidates, I'd like to see parks in neighborhoods that don't currently have any parks. I would like it to be easier for people to walk around, to get to those parks, to get to school in a safe manner. I would like to see it easier. I would like to see it be easier for there to be community gathering spaces. For instance, if we could have neighborhood cafes, if someone could convert their garage into a little coffee shop, and then the people in that neighborhood could walk down to that coffee shop. I think that would be very community focused. So those are things I would like to see. I would also like to make sure that our budget 5 or 10 years from now is stable, that we're able to consistently provide services to the public that expect and rely on them based on our resources.
Thank you. I'm going to pause and repeat the question, and Mr. James, you'll be next. When you envision Lake Forest Park 5 to 10 years in the future, what would you like to see that's different than how it is today? Mr. James, you have 1 minute.
I can't help but think of my Jungian archetypal behaviors of the vision of what I'd like it to be and what's realistic. And what I really want to see is people that grew up here, elderly people, be able to still live here, not get taxed out or have to move out. I'd like to see them live where they grew up. But if we do go for the corner store idea, I'd like to have it in moderation to where there's parking available. And why not if it builds community? And so my vision is following the necessary mandates, but having a process to grow, manage it, and not have everything just go crazy at once by loosening law. So my ideal is I love how it is. I'd love to see it grow in a managed way, and I'd love to keep the elderly here, and also who doesn't want community? I love community.
Thank you very much. And next, Ms. Riddle, you have 1 minute.
5 to 10 years goes by really fast, but I would like to see an LFP where Perkins is one way, and we have a multimodal bike pedestrian path where one of the lanes are. I want to see more of our neighborhoods take advantage of healthy streets, where you kind of close off your neighborhood as local access only, so that cut-through traffic won't go through there. So we'll see more kids playing in the streets. I want to see more third places, whether that's a coffee shop or a small micro park. I want to see places where people can get back together again. Back in the day, I hear that LFP was quiet and people could walk and go anywhere, and now it's full of cars and it's full of danger. I want to give us the ability to have sidewalks and pathways where we can avoid cars, put them second, and have that community feel back into our community.
And next is Mr. Mullenberg. And the reason I'm saying each person's name and reminding them that there's 1 minute is A, to do that, but also to allow our timers an opportunity to breathe. Next, Mr. Mullenberg, you have 1 minute.
Look, I think everybody up here said the same thing. Multimodal exchanges, one way on Perkins, neighborhood destinations where we can gather. I'm for all of those things also. But I'm very much committed to community. I am running to bring this community together. I have formed a next door group that is exclusive to Lake Forest Park residents. I think when we gather, we need a place where we can talk amongst ourselves and there aren't others there. Next door might not be the best place. Tell me where it is. Let's build community there together. I've put together groups that are talking about property taxes and how they work so that there can be a fundamental understanding of how our tax system works as we're facing this levy that's in front of us. Those meetings have been tremendous. 12 to 18 people who come together simply to understand, no agenda, no politics, no point of view. Come see what's happening, let's talk about it. I want more of that. I want this community to come together and talk and be a community together. We once had that. We're a bigger city now. We annexed a lot of places. We've not done a great job of bringing those neighborhoods into this city. That's what I'm running for.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Grant, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I'd like to see us operate with a net positive budget because we're very passionate about a lot of projects, and I want to see those be able to be available to us and to pursue those without any kind of issue. I also am directly affected by the lack of sidewalks. I'm not very far from here, but I can't get here because there's a huge road in front of me, and I would love to see. I like to walk. I just want to walk, and I'm sure everybody else here likes to do that. And I'm a big fan of communities where you can walk around and you have shops that you can visit. I think that I would like to also remind people that I spent 26 years in my childhood home, and that slowly grew over the years, and now I don't even recognize it. So remember that today's society and community is going to be slightly different, 20 years from now, and just think about what kind of legacy you want to leave behind for your kids and the next individuals that move in here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next question. Just a heads up, Mr. Rosenau, we're going to start with you. And the question is, what policies do you support that directly impact low-income and working families? So we'll start with you, Mr. Rosenau, and you have 1 minute.
So this certainly comes back to the question about housing, making sure that we have homes that people of all incomes can live in Lake Forest Park, can age in place. I think a lot about my 13-year-old who's sitting at the back there, and my 1-year-old who's also back there, and somewhere my 10-year-old, who one of these days I would like to be able to move back as a young student and have a home here. I'm proud to have been endorsed by the Affordable Housing Council as someone who can give me guidance on what it takes to actually make housing like that. I think that having neighborhood cafes it's a source of income. It's a source of income for the city as well, as is, and I think it's really important to work on bringing back the public transit that we've lost in recent years through town. It's harder to be car-free in Lake Forest Park than it used to be before the pandemic, because as the transit agencies have reoriented, those bus routes have moved out of town and been reallocated to places that have density and that have transit-oriented development.
Next, Mr. Furutani, you have 1 minute.
The issue of low income and other kinds of things comes down to basically our tax base. We just don't have a big one. To incentivize being able to have folks who are on the lower end of the income scale have a hand up, it's limited in our city just because of the fact that we can't really afford incentives. That said, our most recent version of the comprehensive plan showed that we do support affordable housing to the degree that we can. Sure, maybe we can't incentivize the developer to basically bring in and do it, but we have all the tools in place. What I aim to look for in the next term is what are those kinds of grants and other kinds of incentives that the state or hopefully the federal government will be able to have in order to basically have these incentives available for us for not just affordable housing, but transit and all the other kinds of issues that low-income folks face.
All right, thank you very much. Next, Mr. Olson, and you will have 1 minute.
Yeah, I think for me the most important thing is we make Lake Forest Park a more affordable place to live and to buy or rent. Right now, building cluster housing as a concept, the houses are still $600,000, $700,000. That's not really low income. To me, low income is we need apartments and we need condos. And then I believe, as Josh said, like sound transit as well. Having better options for commuting. Not only is that good for low income, it's good for all of us. It takes cars off the road. It takes CO2 out of the air. Those buses are going to be electric. There's a lot we can do there. So.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Goldman, 1 minute.
Yes, so I start by thinking about what are people's biggest expenses, and the two that jump out to me are housing and vehicles. And so housing, whether you own or rent, making those more affordable. And so I would be interested in looking at other options, whether they are incentives or mandates for developers. I'd like to see us partner with community land trusts as a way, basically the community land trust owns the land, the person owns the property. It makes it much more affordable. I'd like to see us partner there. For vehicles, I'd like to see us make it easier for people to be car-free or car-light, and that comes back to making it safer for people to walk and bike around town. Making amenities more geographically spread out, so that way, no matter where you are in the city, you can easily walk to a park. Making it easy for people to get to the new Lakefront Park. That way you don't have to pay for an expensive membership to have access to Lake Washington. So ways that we can make it more affordable to live in the city.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. James, you will have 1 minute.
Again, it's really hard to be everything to everybody. And there's a blessing in every curse. If I turn this into lots of apartments, we start looking more like Lake City. You start going into the environment. You start looking down the road. There's always a cost to everything. And I don't see where all these things are planned out as fully as they could be to really understand what the people want. And for me, immediate, to answer your question directly, is the tax issue. If we could have saved millions and millions of dollars in the first place from not having a poor processes that got us here in the first place, you'd say tax levies, we would be saving those people, taxpayers, money. As far as, again, what do you want? And if the people want something, our job should be to give you what you want. And if you want to have apartments strung up and down the road, that's a choice.
Thank you. Just a reminder, the question is, what policies do you support that directly impact low-income and working families? Ms. Riddle, you're next. 1 minute.
Thank you. So I think if we can improve business opportunities in the community so that pay a living wage so that folks who are working can also live here, you need to have a fully sustainable ecosystem for supporting working families and low-income families. We do have low-income subsidies for the town center if someone were to ever develop it. But most developers will say, that doesn't pencil out for me. I'm not making enough money if I were to do that. So we're gonna need a very unique developer to work with us as a community to redevelop this space out there, not in here, this is great, out there in the parking lot to make worker housing, affordable housing, additional business opportunities. This is the place where that density makes some more sense. And this is the place where we have that opportunity without impacting outside of the commercial area. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Mullenberg, 1 minute.
I mean, let's be honest, this is Lake Forest Park. The levers we have to pull are small and few. The thing I think we should be talking about is transit. Transit to this city has diminished dramatically since my time here as a child. There used to be the 71, the 72, the 70, the 74, the 75. We had the 311, we had the 312, we had the 313, we had the 372. What do we have now? We have a city that's getting penalized in this process. Our commutes get longer because they're going to route us to 145th to get downtown or to get to the University District. We used to have direct bus service that allowed the people that lived here to get to the places that they need to be. This is a lever that we can still influence. This is something that we should be actively involved with. We should have a way for our community members to get from our city to the transit station we have up at 185th that provides connectivity to the rest of the city and the rest of this region, and it's a shame that we don't.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Grant, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I believe every community should put a little bit of their budget and effort to helping others. If you don't help your neighbors, then can you call yourself a community? I think that the reality is that Seattle is right at our border. It's getting bigger and it's getting more expensive. Therefore, we're getting bigger and we're getting more expensive. So I think that I would say that let's be kind, but let's also try to do what we can to support that more dense housing. I would say that I would like to thank the Rotary Club for their contributions over the years. I would also support endeavors like Hope Link and North Helpline. And also at our farmers market, we support the EBT EBT cards and market bucks. So those kind of programs, I think that we should try to find ways to incorporate those.
Very good. Mr. Lebo, you're next. 1 minute.
So we do many subtle things. So we support charitable organizations, we support the Senior Center, we support Third Place Commons. These are all places where people of low income can find food, can find places to come to be supported. But one of the things, and it's been mentioned, advocating for increased transit. We've increased options for accessory dwelling units, alternatives to housing that might be less expensive. But one of the things I want to talk about is taxes. I don't support Prop 1 because Lake Forest Park has a surplus in its budget right now. We don't need this tax increase now. This affects all of our working low-income families. There are people who said, well, it only costs a couple of cappuccinos or mochas a month. Well, it affects people directly at the kitchen table. So one of the things I advocate is that we spend our money wisely before we ask the taxpayers to provide us more money, and that really affects low-income people.
Thank you. I've been asked, maybe it's hard for some of the people in the back of the room to see the positions that each candidate is running for on the little tent cards. So I'm going to ask the two candidates who are running for position 1 to raise your hands. That's Mr. James and Ms. Riddle. That's position 1. Position 2, the two candidates that are running, Mr. Mullenberg, yes, thank you. And position 3, Mr. Lebo, Mr. Rosenau. Position 5, Mr. Furutani, Mr. Olson. And position 7, Mr. Goldman, you are running unopposed. Does that help? Okay, good. And I think that was Mr. Lebo who was a little bit prescient, because the next question is, what is your position on Lake Forest Park Prop 1 and why? And we're going to start with Mr. Furutani, and you have 1 minute.
I'm an unabashed supporter of Prop 1. I've endorsed it. I've also contributed to the campaign. I believe this is necessary because of the fact that we have an ongoing structural deficit in our police department. And Prop 1 doesn't go only to the police department, it also goes to the regional crisis response that has been referred to. I think that's an amazing thing that we've set up in the northern cities in King County. It's worthy of our support. There's been talk of this unallocated fund balance, and I believe that that fund balance was created by one-time funds that were from the federal government. You know how good a partner the federal government suddenly become, right? So the fact is that I think those one-time funds should be used for one-time costs, like for instance, the next bomb cyclone that comes that we don't get reimbursed for from FEMA. So building up that is not necessarily a bad thing, and in fact, it's working for us right now because we're making interest off of that unallocated balance. So my point is, Prop 1 is a way to address our ongoing structural deficit. Thanks.
All right, next, Mr. Olson, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this one. Excuse me. Ultimately, I've decided to be opposed to it. I understand where the ask is coming from, but ultimately I don't have a solid understanding of what the need is. I know that costs have increased in certain areas. I think with the jail and with the 911. But I'm not confident that we're spending the right amount of money on the public safety or in public safety, and asking for more, I don't agree with.
Thank you. Mr. Goldman, you have 1 minute.
Yes, I am supporting Prop 1. I take it very seriously whenever we are asking the community to raise property taxes, but I believe it is the prudent thing to do. Recently, our public safety costs have increased dramatically. Things like 911 dispatch and jail costs have gone up several $100,000 per year. Our revenues have not kept anywhere close to that pace. These are core services that we need to provide to the community. I believe that it is the prudent thing to do. We do have the unallocated balance. At the current rate at which we are spending it, though, $500,000 to $1 million per year, it'll be gone in about 5 to 8 years. We need to be responsible with the money that the city has. Also, I do think it is very important to acknowledge it's all of public safety, so police, racer, prosecutors, public defenders, all these services across the board. These are core services, and there will be an exemption for low-income seniors and veterans as provided by the county.
Thank you. Mr. James, you're next. You have 1 minute.
I supported the school district. I voted for the parks. I very much pro taking care of community. What shocked me was how the decision-making was made. They had literally 4 days to make a decision on a levy that they'd been working on, a roundabout that they'd been working on for 7 years. That cost us an extra $5.3 million that we just canceled the solar program after just spending $444,000 that we spent $1 million practically on trying to develop this thing a few years back. And furthermore, then you get into this whole idea of the tax levy lift, which they made a whopping decision in a week, taking random numbers out of the air. Had we followed the process, we would have gone back to the original process, bringing the citizen committee, having people involved, making sound decisions. 2/3 of our citizens have advanced degrees, super advanced degrees for 25%, MBAs, PhDs, MDs, and not to use our citizens for us, I think is a crime.
Thank you.
So I vote.
Thank you. And Ms. Riddle, you're next. You have 1 minute.
I support Prop 1. Right now, we haven't added anything to our budget. We've just lost to inflation. Prop 1 fills the gap that inflation has created for us. Things just cost more, but we haven't been overspending and running a large budget excess. This is simply the truth of the situation. Everything costs more, we need to fill the gap. The unallocated funds some want to spend, that gets invested and makes us money. So the more we spend that down, the less revenue we have, the bigger the gap gets. And then eventually, when we run out of that money, we're going to come and ask you for an even bigger ask. Right now, it's prudent to think ahead, to plan ahead, to approve Prop 1, to get us back to just neutral, where we really want to be, not losing any services, we're not overspending any. And then let's have a conversation from there. What's next? It gives us 6 years to have that conversation. Let's do that.
Mr. Mullenberg, you're next. You have 1 minute.
I mean, the facts are correct. The cost of government has gone up 24 times faster than our property tax revenue will go up. That means decisions are going to have to be made. I want my community to talk about the levy together and make a decision about what is essential and non-essential and whether or not we're going to fund that. What disappoints me in this debate is the dark money that is in this conversation, this group called Good Government LFP that is sending out mailers, that is not registered with the PDC, that does not stand up and tell us who they are, yet they seem to have an opinion for this city. When you look at their phone numbers to try to identify them, their phone numbers down in Arizona, I suspect they're sitting in this room, but they don't have the courage to tell you who they are. Spend time learning the facts about this levy. The cost of operating this city has soared. We have a decision on whether or not we are going to continue to fund the things that we fund. If we don't want to fund them, that's fine. Please call me and let's have a conversation. 206-376-9993. Let's talk about what's
Thank
not
you.
essential.
Mr. Grant, you're next. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, I wanted to go through the budget to be certain on this, but I am supporting it and I endorsed it. It's understandable to be frustrated over the levy lid lift, but after reviewing our budget, I think it's our only solution Lake Forest Park has at this time. We're not a very big city, we don't have a lot of commerce, and we live in a post-pandemic time of heavy global inflation, and we've also voted to pursue a number of endeavors for the betterment of our planet and community. So I would just ask you to look at the website, yes, on lfpprop1.com, and see if that's something you care about. But I do promise to hopefully come up with ways to redo our budget, to increase our commerce, and fix it so we don't have to keep doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Lebo, you have 1 minute.
As I mentioned, I'm not supporting Prop 1. I've been through that budget a lot of times. I've managed large and complex budgets. I am the budget chair of the council, so I'm very familiar with what we spend and how we spend the money. We always want to make sure that we're not asking you for more money when we should be spending your money wisely. We do have a surplus. It just wasn't because of the federal government. It was for many reasons. I think we should spend the surplus that we have today and have a Citizen Fiscal Sustainability Committee that would walk through our budget with us to advise on how we should move forward. We don't need a tax increase right now. We may need one in the future, but with your help, we can figure out the best solution. We are funded for our police and our services through 2026, and we have enough money to last many years thereafter. We do need to address this, but we can do it thoughtfully.
Thank you. And next, Mr. Rosenau, you have 1 minute.
So in nonprofits that I've worked at over the years, we've always been very proud and careful of those savings. Well, in nonprofit worlds, we would call reserves. Here we call unallocated funds. And because spending those down, unless you're planning to go out of business, is dangerous. The goal of having those reserves, those unallocated funds, is that it's a buffer against future risks. And in the last few years, we've seen what those risks can look like. We've seen bomb cyclones that normally FEMA would have covered us for, and that because of the Trump administration, they didn't. We've seen Trump and Musk and Doge cut money out of the federal budget that would have gone to forest fires, firefighters, public safety, sidewalks, a host of things that we have to pay for still if those are our priorities. The nature of our budget is that in Washington State, there are 4 things that we can do to get past that 1% thing.
Thank you.
I won't have time to talk about it now.
And the next question, we're going to be starting with you, Mr. Olson, and that is, how do you see Lake Forest Park working to mitigate climate change in our community? You have 1 minute.
Yeah, I think there's 2 aspects of climate change. There's the prevention, reducing greenhouse gases, which we can do through supporting sound transit, electric buses, better transportation for people. And then also, I think that we should be working with Seattle City Light, companies that provide solar panels and batteries, integrated systems to reduce carbon emissions in our homes, supporting people as they try to reduce emissions within their homes through heating, moving to heat pumps, better systems, more energy efficient. And then also, I think one of the hardest things is, what do we do about the climate change that's already here? To me, that's a lot harder. It's, as Tracy said, there's a lot of smoke in the air these days. What can we do to prevent smoke getting into homes as climate change hits us? Things like that.
Thank you. And Mr. Goldman, you're next. You have 1 minute.
Yes, I think the first thing that the city needs to do is to hire a climate manager, someone who their sole job will be to implement the climate action plan. And that includes applying for grants that are available at the state or federal, and let's be honest, state level, in order to fund these projects. There are other things the city can communicate with the public about, things that they can do, such as solar panels, ductless heat pumps, and the like. Also, it's been mentioned about the solar/EV project. Part of the challenge, that project is still going, but what we discovered is that City Hall does not have the capability to handle EV chargers yet. It needs to be modernized. And so we took a step back to reassess and then to say, well, let's modernize City Hall, get it to the point where we can install EV chargers in the City Hall parking lot. And so that project is very much alive, and I do think it will help with climate mitigation.
Thank you. Next, Mr. James, you have 1 minute.
It's one of these other crazy subjects, climate change. Many people on this council are all for the rail, the ST3, the sound transit, and that includes removing 400 trees and creating a massive heat island from the wall. How could and then justify that by hiring a climate manager to offset that somehow? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Our priority should be on trying to finish off the ST3 in the form that most of the council members voted for, which is to adopt a new policy. I think these We don't know what yet's coming down the road with hydrogen. We don't know yet what's coming down the road. Again, a citizen committee, we have so much talent here to pull from them. So I don't think I have the expertise to talk about it, even though I've been on the Foundation for Study of Cycles. I could talk about the long-term cycles, the elliptical cycles, and
Thank
wobbles.
you very much.
Thank you.
Sir. And next, Ms. Riddle, and you will also have 1 minute.
Thank you. So we do have a climate action plan. So as others have said, moving forward with the recommendations in that plan is a great first step. We're also required to do a climate section within our 30-year comprehensive plan, and that'll be done by the end of this year. So we've got a short-term planning and long-term planning documents that'll get us started. So the idea is we really just need to work through that. There's going to be a lot of great information there, both coming from citizen commissions with the partnership of the city and professionals. We also need to think about the resilience of our environment. Which trees are going to work for us better when we have hotter summers and drier summers? We need to think about this at the city level. As you heard, we need to increase the infrastructure, the electrical infrastructure at City Hall so that we can do some of these things like electrification of cars in our driveways. And then at the people level, most of us can't afford to just swap out heating. Thank you.
Mr. Mullenberg, you have 1 minute.
There's not possibly enough time to talk about this topic. I'm a trained facilitator in the Climate Fresk. I love to put groups together. We do a 3-hour workshop that brings communities together to talk about what we can do locally to adapt. I support hiring the Climate Action Manager. I think it's very important. We will face heat problems, flooding problems, fire problems, and disease vectors here in Lake Forest Park. The sooner we get ahead of that, the better. The dangers and risks that are presented just by the mosquitoes alone that have moved into our area in the last 10 years are significant to public health, particularly with the backdrop of a federal government that is moving away from vaccinations. We need to figure out how to solve for that problem. And like Reed down here at the other end of the table, I am very much in favor of putting batteries in every garage in this community. There are a number of examples where this has been successful in creating stabilization of a community when the power goes out. I realize there's cost behind it, but there is also tremendous savings to be had because when those batteries exist in the garage, you don't need
Thank you,
peaker
sir.
plants.
Mr. Grant, you're next, and you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I encourage everybody that can, I call it upgrading to solar or heat pumps, do so. I know it might not be as cost effective as what we currently have, but if you can do it, you should do it for the greater good, because what we don't do now will affect this later, and things are only going to get more and more expensive. So what we can do right now to mitigate climate change going forward is what we should do. I mean, the Boy Scout motto is "Leave your campsite better than you found it," and that's what we should do with each generation. I also came here, I think, I went in front of the council last year or 2 years ago, and I supported the Climate Commitment Act and helped them support it as well. So yeah, it's very important to everybody on this council, and I'm hopefully all to you, and we should do what we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Lebo, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. So we've done many things to lay the groundwork. We've put in policies for our comprehensive plan. We've adopted the climate action plan. We're hiring a climate coordinator. We are seeking where we can to have either hybrid vehicles when they become mature so that we can use them for public works and eventually some of our other vehicles. We've put policies in place where we can to have our public works use electric tools instead of gas-powered tools. We are working to protect our tree canopy, our streams. These will all provide resilience for future climate change. We even need to update our tree list to reflect that the changing climate, different species will live better than some of our current species because of the changing climate. So it's also about education and partnering with our neighboring cities who have their own climate action plans and coordinators. So as a small city, we benefit greatly by working with local other cities and regionally to promote.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Rosenau, 1 minute.
Like several of the folks up here, I think that we need to hire a climate manager for the city. Climate is something that touches everything that the city handles, and having someone who can pull all of that together, I think, is really important. I'm glad to hear you speak in support of that also, Mr. Lebo, since I understand you voted against the budget because it had a line item for that climate manager. I'm proud to have been endorsed by a group called Climate Cabinet that provides policy guidance to cities and state legislators who are trying to tackle climate change. Housing policy is climate policy, and it's one of the biggest drivers of carbon emissions in our city. Transportation is the other biggest driver. We need to move people out of cars and onto whether we can make it easier to take buses, be easier to take public transit, easier to get around without cars. And it is more efficient when you have three homes in the same space that right now you can build one big home.
Thank you very much.
That's more efficient too.
Mr. Furutani, you have 1 minute.
I want to gently push back on not utilizing the intellectual properties of our city's citizens here. The Climate Action Committee is comprised of many of our group, and I want to call out Sarah Phillips and Ann Oodleloy for their wonderful leadership. Most cities hire a consultant to write a climate action plan. We didn't. We had somebody look over the figures and stuff like that, but it was written by us. And the reason why the climate manager is so important is because that's the person that can hold our feet to the fire and say, okay, I'm going to assess this. Do we actually meet the goals that we have set in our climate action plan? We need that as a way to keep ourselves honest. For instance, Mercer Island has a climate dashboard on their city website, and it assesses whether or not they reach the carbon targets they wanted, or whether they reach the EV targets they wanted. So the point is, we need somebody like that to keep us honest about the next step in our progress towards climate equity.
Thank you very much. All right. We're going to move to the next question. Just a heads up, Mr. Goldman, you'll be first with this question. And the matter of Sound Transit has come up a couple of times so far. This question is about that. What is your opinion of Sound Transit's redevelopment of Bothell Way, Highway 522? And Mr. Goldman, we'll start with you. You have 1 minute.
Yes, I recognize this is a big topic for the community. I signed on to a letter encouraging Sound Transit to consider queue jumps instead of bus lanes along 522, and I do stand by that letter. At the same time, Sound Transit has made it clear, responding to us and talking to the public, that they are not going to go forward with the queue jump proposal, that they are going to do bus lanes. And so I think at this point, the most prudent course of action for us is for all of us, the public, the city, to work with Sound Transit to make sure that the project that they are going to build, and it is their project, that their project obeys the city's very strong rules about tree protection and environmental protection, that it is gentle to those members of the public who live along Bothell Way, and that it does as good a job as possible at serving riders to encourage higher ridership, which will have a positive environmental benefit.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. James, you have 1 minute. Same question.
Thank you. Coming from a family of several Olympians, and my mother started Super Jock and Jill, I kind of stay in the fight till the end. And for me, it's not over till it's over. I don't know the permitting process for trees on individual properties. Whatever it takes, they've already spent $200 billion on Sound Transit to add one more bus lane for a short distance. That's all we're asking for, 12 blocks. That would not only save the 400 trees and 5,000 truckloads of dirt and et cetera, all the property rights, but it affects 15 buses. It's a matter of like a minute of a transit ride for these people. It just doesn't make sense. And so I think maybe Delane might be a good, defense is the best offense in this case. A little bit backwards, but it still works. So I'd stay in it as long as we could to try to mitigate that possible building for that last 12 blocks.
Thank you very much. Next, Ms. Riddle, you have 1 minute.
So I support the best engineering solution that yields the least impact on our community. I did sign 7 letters on council requesting for a delay to review the engineering, a request to have them look at the queue jump. 7 letters, and we probably got answers to 2 or 3 of them actually, but they don't agree with us. And they are a larger entity. They have authority greater than we can push. So other than our voice, we don't have a lot left anymore. But we have negotiated. The neighbors above the retaining wall got 5 more feet back from negotiations that they were going to lose by having a fence that was going to be 5 feet further in. The overall road is reduced 4 feet from their standard layout. So they're giving us concessions as best as they can, but the truth is they're going to move forward. They're 100% drawings. We need to accept and be able now to push where are they going to put the trees. Thank you very much.
Next, Mr. Mullenberg, you will have 1 minute.
I applaud the council for all the effort that they made in influencing the decisions on Sound Transit and Bothell Way. We are at a point now where we are at 100% design phase. That means this project has transitioned from a topic that is actively being debated and which we can have profound impacts onto into a project where we need to figure out how do we become a partner to mitigate the impacts as much as possible, to take these trees, these 80 specimen trees, these heritage trees that are going to be removed as a result of this, and find homes in our city where those trees can be replanted. One of the things that offends me about this project is the expectation that Sound Transit is going to replace 400 trees, but they're going to do that out in rural King County or somewhere else. Those trees belong here in Lake Forest Park. We have a project that's going to move forward. I think it's irresponsible, the people that are calling for us to join a lawsuit to stop that project. We've spent much of this conversation talking about the budget challenges we have. Walking into that quagmire makes no sense to me.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Grant, you will have 1 minute.
Yeah, as an outside observer, if you hear about this, it's called the BRT line. If you're an outside observer, you're going to think, oh, this sounds like a good idea. It's a bus rapid transit line. But if you really think about it, I ride the 522 all the time with my wife. We go up to Bothell, we go downtown. And we've never had issues with traffic. I've never ridden it during rush hour, but we've ridden it all times of the day. So I think that the costs may outweigh the benefits of this. That said, I think this was passed in 2016, so at this point, like everybody else is saying, it's more of fighting to mitigate the effects of this. So, yes, it would be nice to have, but at the same time, I think it's really going to be, it could potentially be very destructive and costly.
Thank you. At this point, I will restate the question. What is your opinion of Sound Transit's redevelopment of Bothell Way, Highway 522? And next we'll move to Mr. Lebo, and you have 1 minute.
For those that know me or have attended council when we've had discussions about Sound Transit, know I've recused myself. I am a Sound Transit employee. I have been for almost the last 8 years. Before that, I worked 30 years at the University of Washington. And why is that important? I've been a transit user for the last 35 years. But in my work as a project director, when it came to projects, we always sought out community involvement, because in my experience, when we had community involvement, it made our projects better. I've done tree mitigation projects where we've had impacts and we've planted more trees than we originally took down. There are many opportunities to make every project better for the community. And in my experience, those are things that I've always valued and taught my project managers to value. Seek value, bring improvements, and value to our community. Community input is very important, and the projects are all better for that.
Thank you. Next, Mr. Rosenau, 1 minute.
So if someone was proposing to bulldoze my front yard, I would be pretty upset about that. And what we're experiencing along Bothell Way there is really bulldozing the front porch of Lake Forest Park. What not just people who live there feel like is their front porch, but I think what all of us in town experience that way. And so it's understandable that people are upset, and it's right and proper that we should be, as a council and as a community, advocating for our needs. I'm also a lifelong transit advocate, and I want to do everything we can to get people out of cars. I want to do that to fight climate change. I want to do that to get the tire pollutants out of our waterways that are killing our salmon. And it makes it it's tricky. It's also a case where the changes that they're making, as was mentioned earlier, are making some people's commutes worse. It's going to put people back into cars rather than getting them out of cars. So there are problems with this concept that need to be addressed. And I want to
Thank you very
praise
much.
you. Oh, sorry. I do want to praise you for recusing yourself.
Next, Mr. Furutani, you have 1 minute.
74% of us voted for SD3, which was the enabling legislation to fund the bus rapid transit, among other projects. And so that means that Lake Forest Park as a whole is not against transit. Of course, that would be foolish. The point here is that I signed the same letters that the other council members who are incumbents are basically signed as well. And we discovered how unresponsive Sound Transit leadership was to this. And my point is that that's where we need to have a seat at that table. We need to be on the Sound Transit board. I'm going to be working for that. Further, we need to actually have basically more, we need to have more responsiveness from them in terms of their engineering. I'm disappointed by the fact that they did not really look at the numbers of how many minutes were going to be saved per ride and things like that as part of their justification for making the bus rapid transit. On the matter of trees, I'm fully in support of looking at the economic value of the trees, what we call environmental services, instead of just putting a little sapling out for a large mature tree they're going to take down. Make sure we replace that.
Thank you. And next, Mr. Olson, 1 minute.
Yeah, I think the fact that we're going to be losing a significant number of trees, landmark trees, and that people are losing property is unfortunate. But I think the greater good that is served by adding the bus lane, increasing ridership on Sound Transit, using electric buses outweighs those negatives. And what we're here to do as council members or future council members is make make the best decision in a bad situation, because none of the problems that will come to us are good problems. It's just we have to make the best of what's in front of us.
Thank you very much. All right. I'm looking at the time, and I think we should probably move to the closing statements, just because we want to make sure that we're out of here by 8:30, and I'm not sure we'd have time to get in one more question. Thank you all for your questions, and I apologize for the ones that we did not get to. They are truly excellent questions. But at this point, we are going to wrap up by moving to our candidates' 90-second closing statements. We're going to reverse the order from the opening statements and begin with you, Mr. Goldman, and move in that direction. So you may begin. You have 90 seconds.
Once again, thank you to all the members of the public who took 2 hours out of their busy schedules to attend this forum. Thank you to Third Place Commons and the League of Women Voters for putting it on. It's been really great hearing from my fellow candidates. I hope to have your vote on the November ballot. In the past 4 years serving on the council, I have tried to be as collaborative as possible, to be responsive to community feedback in order to figure out what is the best way forward to address the many challenges that the city has. I would like to think that we've been successful so far, and I do think that there are further steps we can take. I'm proud of some of the work we've done for multimodal safety, for establishing a Healthy Streets program for lowering speed limits. But now we have to implement the Healthy Streets program. Now we have to figure out how we can actually make it safer, physically safer for people to get around without a car. When it comes to affordable housing, that's come up multiple times tonight. What can we do to make housing more affordable, whether it's through incentives, whether it's through mandates? What can we do to make it easier for people to live in Lake Forest Park? And we are very proud, rightfully so, of our urban forest, of our environmental quality. And so what can we do to maintain our environmental quality? How can we mitigate climate change, which is going to happen? And so these are all things that I would love to take on if elected to another term. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Olson, you have 90 seconds.
All right. Thanks again, excuse me, to everyone for showing up today. And the fantastic questions. I was and still am a little nervous to be up here in front of all of you, but this has been fun. Coming away from this, I'm very impressed with my fellow candidates. I've met them a few times. It's been fun having this process. In a lot of ways, we all agree. We agree on a lot of issues, which is nice. It's good. It's good to see. I think what I can do is just bring a bit of a different perspective, only being here 5 years. As a community member, I grew up in Redmond, was gone from the area for about 15 years, and my wife and I moved back in COVID. We found a fantastic community here in our neighborhood, some of whom are here today, so thank you. And I look forward to just bringing that community spirit to the rest of Lake Forest Park and City Council.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Furutani, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. I want to thank the moderator. It's been done a great job. Thank you so much. I can use some of that time. That's fine. Yeah. But I just want to point out that 4 years ago I was up here and I challenged all of you. I wanted to see more of you up here with us. And my goodness, we did it in spades. Wonderful. So,
Nobody else will fit.
Well, fair enough. Yeah. So my point is basically that, this is one thing that I really appreciate about this community, this healthy democracy that we have here. Maybe our federal government isn't as responsive as we'd like it to be, but we're going to make it that way. We're going to start at the municipal level. We're going to build it up. And this is the bench team, right? So those of us who are not going to necessarily win this round, I want you to stay involved. We have so many citizen commissions. We have so many ways that you can volunteer with the city to help make this place a much better place to live. I love the fact that we have so much expertise, deep expertise, as candidate James has mentioned, and we really need to tap into that. We've got lots and lots of things that we need to solve, but together we're going to solve it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And next, Mr. Rosenau, and you have 90 seconds.
I'd also like to thank you and possibly the timekeepers. I feel like the clock may have been fast, but I've been thinking, and I want to thank all of you for being here and for the questions. And one of them has stuck with me, and I've been taking notes to myself here on that question of in 5 to 10 years, what are we going to have? And yes, the Lakefront Park that I've been working on the Parks Board, it's so exciting to see that so close to fruition. I'm so excited to see middle schoolers and high schoolers walking down Ballinger, going across and being able to play there the way that now some of them in town can get to the Civic Club, but not everyone. Finally, a park for everyone on the lakefront. And other parks around town. Playgrounds within 15 minutes of every kid. Streets that my 1-year-old now, she'll be 11 then, she'll be able to ride her bike on safely. Homes that my 13-year-old, who'll be 23 then, will be able to come back to. A 40th Place and a Perkins where it's safe to walk and bike on. It's a longer list than 90 seconds is going to get me. But car-free links to light rail, a town center that looks outside like it feels inside, cool cafes and shops in neighborhoods, and more traffic, and moving traffic out of our neighborhoods using engineering, not just road signs that say 20 miles an hour, but speed bumps, narrower roads, modal filters, other tools that keep the traffic on the arterials so that there's space in our communities,
Thank
our
you
neighborhoods for people.
Very much. Mr. Lebo, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. This has been a very robust conversation. And my opponent and I agree on many important things, like the need for safe walkways, investments in our parks, and protection of our forests and streams. Those are shared community priorities, and I value that common ground. Where we differ is in experience and approach. My years on the City Council and previously on the Planning Commission have given me a deep understanding of how to turn good ideas into sound policies and practical results. One must be cognizant of unintended consequences, and I've seen those before without good planning. I've helped craft the city codes and policies that shape how Lake Forest Park grow, ensuring development remains reasonable, thoughtful, and true to the character of our neighborhoods. I do not support increasing residential density in ways that change the fabric of our community, nor do I believe we should allow commercial zoning in our neighborhoods as attractive as a cafe appears. There are unintended consequences. Our residents deserve thoughtful planning and protects what makes Lake Forest Park so unique. Professionally, I've managed large, complex project budgets throughout my career as a licensed architect and a project director. I bring that same discipline to the City Hall, ensuring your tax dollars are spent wisely and protecting our citizens from unnecessary tax increases. As a lifelong Democrat, I'm committed to a collaborative, forward-thinking local government that reflects our shared values. I'm proud of what we accomplished together.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Grant, and you have 90 seconds.
Yeah, my name is Fred Grant, running for City Council Position 2. As you can tell, I'm not a public speaker, but I do care about this community. And I would also like to thank everybody for also caring and coming to this. It's very rare and few these days. My wife and I have volunteered all over King County. We probably put in at least 100 community service hours. I really love puzzles, and I think this budget while also preserving our community is really going to be a fun project. I would love to also increase our commerce events here and at the parks. We need to adapt to change and promote clean energy initiatives wherever we can. I would also like to give you hope and positivity back into the community, because I feel like we're in darker times, and it's hard to get isolated and watch the news too often. So if we build a community, we can have some laughter and some fun. And remember, I'm a public servant, so I'm also listening to you, and the community has the vote at the end of the day. So I want to make Lake Forest Park happy, healthy, and whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Mullenberg, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for your mission and what you do. Putting this event together is so important. Bringing a community together is what matters. I've lived here in Lake Forest Park for 47 years. I live 4 blocks from the house that I grew up in. Bill, the chocolate man downstairs, lives in the house that I grew up in. He bought it from my parents when we moved and I went to the University of Washington. I've raised 6 kids here. This community has had a profound impact on us. If you ever want to know the story of my family and how it came together, it's rather non-traditional. This community rallied around me when that happened. People came out of the woodwork to make sure that those kids were supported, that they had a place to live, that they had homes to go to, that they had adults to talk to. I value that. I've watched this city become fractured. We have highways that have become so full with cars you can't walk. There are 3 segmented areas of this city. We've put developments on the walkways that once connected our neighborhoods. We've lost that connective tissue that allowed us to walk towards each other. And social media is a destructive force that has broken down community. I want to build that community back up. There's only 1 seat sitting up here that is only going to serve a 2-year term. You're going to have a quick turn to decide to replace me with somebody else. I think the community we're going to build is going to be so significant that that's not going to happen, but if I don't do it, I don't deserve to be here. I'm here to serve you. I want to hear from all of you. My phone number is 206-376-9993. Only 9 people in this campaign have taken the time to call that number and have a conversation with me. Please make it 10, 11, 12, 15, 30, 50, 100.
Thank you very much. Next, Ms. Riddle, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you all for coming here tonight. I hope you learned something new about all the candidates, but mostly thank you for being involved in this process. Your voices and participation is what makes local government work. I hope I've managed to communicate to everyone here how much I love the things that make LFP great and how we need to protect that. We still face some challenges. We need to balance our budget, not just now, but in the coming decade. We must be ready for both emergencies and opportunities. We want to continue to be one of the safest cities in Washington and one of the greenest cities in Puget Sound. We want to continue investing in and maintaining our parks and green spaces, continue to build and support our local, vibrant business community, and find LFP-style solutions to increasing traffic and population. Imagine streets with a treed center median, providing beauty and shade and slowing cars down in our neighborhoods. There's no easy answer to these challenges, but with a careful, smart, measured approach and your input, we can ensure that our children and grandchildren can live in an LFP just as awesome as the one we live in today, but just with bigger trees. So please vote for me, and I'll continue to look for solutions that benefit us all.
Thank you very much. And next, Mr. James, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you all for showing up, especially staying late. Appreciate it. When I say we're deep in Lake Forest Park, we moved here in the 1940s, a family. My grandmother raised 7 kids by herself, pretty much. My mother raised 5 boys. And they were both phenomenal stewards of this land that we live on, and I am still to this day. It means a lot to me. And Phil Smart used to talk about the 3 8s, the 8 hours of sleep, the 8 hours of work, and the 8 hours of volunteering that you should be doing. And I can't sit up here and go through all that I've done, but I'm very deeply invested in this community, from coaching soccer and volleyball and skiing to very steeped in alternative healing work on the side and vibrations. The trees are so important to this landscape, the mycelium. Everything about this community is so magical here, and I just would love to keep it in a managed process and fix the, yes, I'm a suit guy. I want to fix the things that are broken in the processes so we don't waste millions of dollars, so we don't have to go back and say, oops, we made a mistake. It doesn't need to happen that way, and we could do it with you guys. This is a community. We have talent galore, and we've done great with Stewardship Foundation. We've done great with Ms. Phillips and that group, and we need more of that. So I'm very passionate about this, obviously. This whole panel seems to be. Thank you all for being up here, and I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, candidates. You have, in my opinion, modeled respectful civil discussion. Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause for all of the candidates. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, I want to thank you each for running for office and for participating in this forum. Thanks very much to our valiant timers, Michael and Barbara, who I think are still alive. Yes! To Robin Lyle for video recording this forum, and just a reminder to, in a few days, check the League of Women Voters of Seattle-King County website, lwvskc.org. You can find the video of this event. Thanks to all the League volunteers who made tonight happen, and thank you to all of you for your participation, your excellent question, and your respectful civil behavior. Let's give all of the volunteers and all of you a round of applause. Just a reminder that the ballots will be mailed next week. They should all be out by Friday, October 17th. Election day is Tuesday, November 4th. Your ballot has to be postmarked no later than November 4th or dropped in the drop box next to City Hall by 8 p.m. on November 4th. Remember to vote, remind your family, friends, and neighbors to vote, and thanks again for coming. Good night.